Third time's the charm. This is your study guide. If you know everything on this study guide, you should be good to go. Your test is tomorrow, 10:20. Today is 10:19, and this is chemistry class. You have a test tomorrow on chapter 3. This is your study guide. Pause the video, study it. It's also on Teams that you can look at it there. All right. The other things we talked about in class today were all in CK12. So if you go to your textbook, scroll down, we're in chapter 4. You did Democritus' idea of the atom on Monday. Today you will have a CK12 that will be assigned during class called Law of Conservation of Mass. And you should know since 5th grade, the law of conservation of mass just says that matter cannot be created nor destroyed. Now, what that means is whatever we start off with as reactants in our chemical reaction have to be accounted for by our products. They have to be there. They might go from being a solid to a gas, and that's fine, but they have to be accounted for. All right, multiple proportions just means that if we know that carbon, 1 gram of carbon, can react with 1.333 grams of oxygen to form carbon monoxide, CO, and that 1 gram of carbon can react with 2.666 grams of oxygen to form carbon dioxide, okay, then we can look at these two numbers, the amount of oxygen in carbon monoxide and the amount of oxygen in carbon dioxide, and we get a 2-to-1 ratio. Okay, that's all that means. Now that will be useful. So will the law of definite proportions, and basically what this means is that if it's H2O, it's always H2O. Anything other like H3O or H2O2, those are different compounds with different formulas. H2O will always be 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. All right. And the mass ratio calculation, basically what you're doing is they're telling you compound A has 4.08 grams of copper for every 2.28 grams of chlorine, and compound B has 7.53 grams of copper for every 8.4 grams of chlorine. So we can set those as ratios, right? So here's our ratio. And if we want to know the ratio of copper in compound A compared to the amount of copper in compound B. So what we're going to do is if we take this 2.28 grams of chlorine and divide it by itself, we get 1, right? And that's okay as long as we do the same thing to what's on top. Okay, whatever you do to one part of the proportion, you have to do to the other part. So 4.08 divided by 2.28 is going to be 1.79. All right, so now we have the ratio of chlorine and copper in compound A. Then we do the same thing for compound B. We set up our original ratio, and then we take and we divide by everything by the number of chlorine grams, and we get 0.896 grams of copper divided by 1 gram of chlorine. All right, now we take the amount of copper in A and the amount of copper in B, and we set those as a ratio, and we find that it is a 2-to-1 ratio. Now we probably could have done this with the 4.08 and the 7.53, but the question specifically said the lowest whole number, and 4.08 and 7.53 are not whole numbers. Okay, so that's why we had to do it the way we did it. All right, and I promise you that will become useful in later chapters. And that's it. That's what we did on 10/19. Make sure you study for your test tomorrow. All right, have a good day.